Hello, everybody. Hey, welcome in to the OnlyBets Champions League Special Edition Knockout Round podcast. We are super excited to give this to you guys here alongside my co-host SternBets. I am PrinceOfPicks. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. You guys have been great with your support. We have got a fantastic lineup of games here over the next couple of days in the UEFA Champions League. We are heading into Leg-2 of this stage of the knockout round. So we have got some very juicy storylines here. Some teams that are going to be desperate to chase goals. Some other teams are going to be desperate to defend their goals. And so we will do our best here to cover every single match and give you our best angles for each of the matches taking place over the next couple of days. Before we do that, let's go ahead and get into some official business real quick, guys. If you guys can do us a solid, head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Give us a real quick rate, review, and subscribe. Does wonders in terms of helping the channel grow here. You guys have been outstanding and tremendous with your support. We greatly appreciate it, and we will continue to give you guys our best on a show-by-show basis. With that being said, let me go and pass it over to my co-host, Mr. SternBets, Mr. Mosh. What's going on, man?
Hey, we're doing well. I'm excited to do this with you. I completely forgot that Champions League was coming here today, so I'm happy that you were able to remind me. And looking through these games, looking through the stats, metrics, and what happened last game, because this is obviously the leg 2 of the Champions League knockout round. I'm really excited to see what happened. I'm excited to see where we agree, and I'm excited to see where we butt heads. And I want to win a showdown this time. And by golly, it better by be Inter.
Yeah, that's one of the games that's got some crazy storylines, but a lot of these matches have just I will tell you guys, this is a tricky slate here, but we have got some really fun stories here in a lot of these matchups. So
Yeah. Let's just jump right into it. I'm assuming that everyone has listened to our first round 1, so they already kind of have an understanding what the tournament is, what the goal is. These are, again, there's a whole tier that already has a bye, and there's a whole tier that's already been knocked out. This is the middle tier, where you really got to dig down and find out what you're made of, right?
Pretty much, that's where we're at right now. Yeah. So just to recap real quick, just in case, maybe we get a lot of new listeners every show. So in case you forgot to tune in or weren't aware of us, in the first episode here of the Champions League podcast, basically what we're at here is we are in the second leg of the match that's taking place between ranked 9 through 24 teams here. It's basically a home and away here. The aggregate score, whoever has the most goals, obviously between the two legs, ends up being the winner and advances to the next round, where 8 teams, the top 8 teams, are waiting for them in the which would basically be, I think, the round of 16 is where we would be at next. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So we did have our first legs over Tuesday and Wednesday of last week, and so we're heading into the second legs here. Again, where it's going to be do or die for a lot of teams here. They have nowhere to hide. They're going to be forced to come out and play, and so we'll see what happens here. But definitely some drama is going to be in play here for the next couple days.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. Tomorrow, 12:45, we got Atletico Madrid and Club Brugge. This ended on a 3-3 tie, thanks to a very late score by, I believe, Atletico Madrid, right? I can't imagine we're going to have any kind of a different game plan. What do you got for this?
Yeah, so for this one here, to your point here, we are on a 3-3 aggregate scoreline here, but I tend to fade Bruges on the road here in Champions League. When we're looking at Club Bruges here, they've allowed a goal actually in both halves here, because I was foreshadowing my play here. I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm actually on Atletico here to score in both halves. That's going to be at minus 115. And when we're looking at the data here, Club Brugge have allowed a goal in both halves in 2 of their last 3 away UCL matches. And not to mention, Atletico have also scored in both halves in 2 of their last 3 home UCL matches here. So I tried to find an angle here. I'm really backing Atletico in this one. Bruges is just not a very good team on the road. They've actually been shut out in 2 of their last 3 UCL matches away from home. So anytime they go outside of Belgium, they tend to struggle here. in European competition. So I think that continues here, but I'm afraid to take a side just because Atletico is so Jekyll and Hyde, maybe one of the most Jekyll and Hyde teams in all of European football right now. So I'm not confident enough to take any kind of Atletico plays, Atletico spreads. Their money lines too juiced for me. Their goals are too juiced for me. So this was the only way that I could get a playable line. But I will tell you guys right now, this is absolutely going to be a live bet game for me because if you don't see goals early, expect to see them later for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Atletico Madrid is the side here to back, but I couldn't get the feeling that Atletico Madrid's defense isn't really up to snuff at this point, and this is not just like a one or two instance where they've struggled defensively. So I just had to take the BTTS and over 2.5 goals. I got that at -110. Um, I mean, what can we say? I just hope that we see the offensive sparks from both sides. I understand that Club Brugge may be Jekyll and Hyde, and we may not see their output, but I mean, this is the single most important game that they can possibly bring to they're going to bring everything they can to bring to
Yeah.
the table. And I expect some effort here. And again, I have here written in my notes also, just like you do, if there are no goals early, you better believe they're going to be coming.
Oh yeah, these are two teams that love to score and concede, so no doubt about it. This is not going to be. I'd be shocked if it's like a 1-0, even a 1-1 type of scoreline. So I love that as well. Both teams to score over 2.5. I think that's a solid play as well. It's a great look. It's just finding a value that you feel comfortable with. So either way, for me, that sounds like a pretty solid play. Let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and because I got a parlay coming up here, so I'll go ahead and cover. Take us to the next game here, and then I'll get your thoughts on it. But we're going to the next one, of course, on Tuesday here, 3 p.m. Eastern kickoff, where we got Bayern Leverkusen going to be hosting Olympiacos. Leverkusen coming to this one with a 2-0 lead on the aggregate score line. But I'm going to keep this one simple here. This is going to be the first leg of a two-leg parlay. I just like Olympiacos to score. They're in a must-score situation here, of course, being down 2-0. Leverkusen at times have been a little bit shaky at the back, and I think an Olympiacos team is going to be ultra aggressive in trying to score that goal. I think they can get it. They've scored in 3 straight away UCL matches as Olympiacos. And Leverkusen on the other side, they've allowed a goal in 3 straight home UCL matches. So when we're looking at the Champions League here, both of these teams are in form in terms of conceding and scoring goals. But we're just looking for one goal here for this parlay from Olympiacos. And I think they have enough firepower up front to get that done. I'm staying away from a side in this one because it's just too much of a toss up for me. I'm not sure if I fully trust Leverkusen to advance here, and their money line is just a little bit. Actually, their money line was pretty playable, I think, if I remember correctly. But in any case, I'd just rather take Olympiacos to score here. I found that to be a safer way for me to attack this game as part of a parlay. And before I get to the next leg, I'll ask you: did you have any thoughts on the Leverkusen Olympiacos match?
Yeah, this was this was the biggest upset, I believe, from the first leg, where my best bet was both teams to score, and I really feel like Olympiacos had so many opportunities to
So
score.
many opportunities. Yes.
Like it bounced off the top bar, it bounced off the side bar, and then it
L-
just went wide. And I mean, just
Leverkusen were lucky to come out of there with a clean sheet. Yeah, sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
opportunity after opportunity. So I do like the BTTS there, but it was juiced a little bit too high for me. But something else that I like here is maybe a slow start in the first half of this game. I took a 2-leg parlay for nice plus money, and the first leg of it here is the first half under 1.5 goals.
Sure, absolutely. That's always in play for me for Olympiacos matches in general, and especially you may not if Leverkusen gets an early goal, then I think all hell breaks loose because now you got a 3-0 score line. Olympiacos may not want it to get to that point early, right? They may play a little bit more conservative to start out and maybe look at the second half as their opportunity to kind of get back into the tie here. But yeah, that's definitely a solid play. And anytime you're dealing with Olympiacos and unders, I don't hate it. I'll put it that way. So solid look there. And then let's go ahead and go to the next game here, where we're going to be covering Inter Milan. who's going to be hosting Bodo Glimt. Of course, this is the one that most people are talking about right now. One of the matches, anyway, with crazy storylines here. Of course, Bodo Glimt with a shocking 3-1 lead in the aggregate here in this one. Shocking to some people, maybe not so much to others. I'll raise my hand in that one, although I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was
I
a hit. That was a direct hit.
that's a subtle flex, a subtle flex. But you look. I think I've said this before. I think Bodo is heavily slept on. It's a different environment when you go up there in the Nordic region and you're playing on that artificial turf in that cold weather. It's just a totally different environment that these big clubs they don't like playing it. It's just like I said before. It's below them. It's beneath them. It's not. That's it's not. They haven't played on those type of pitches and probably since they were coming up in the youth ranks. So Bodo's a tough place to play. Now, having said that, now they got to go on the road here. But they got to face an Inter team that is going to be starving for goals. And Bodo is not the greatest defensively. So I do think we see probably a lot of goals in this one. But again, for me, the safest way that I saw this one, I just need Bodo to score. Just score one goal here. If we parlay that with Olympiacos to score, you're going to get that at plus 109. So if we just get a goal from Olympiacos, one goal from Bodo, doesn't matter what the scoreline. Bodo can lose 10-1 for all we care, right? As long as they get the goal, we'll win this parlay. We saw this similar bet last week when I took Karabakh just to score a goal. Now, of course, I didn't predict the 6-1 beatdown from Newcastle in that one, but again, 6-1, 5-1, 10-1, 20-1 doesn't matter, right? As long as they get that goal. So for me here, getting Olympiacos to score plus Bodo to score, we're looking at Bodo here. This is a very underrated offensive team. They have scored 2+ goals in 10 straight matches. So this is a team that has no problem putting the ball in the back of the net. They're a very solid team. They may not have big names. They may not have a big household, worldwide club type of team here in terms of their roster, but they play well together. The other thing you have to think of here as well, they're in the off season right now, so they are able to put all of their attention on the Champions League. Whereas Inter Milan, they've got one eye on the Serie A. And you better make no mistake about it here. It is equally as important for Inter Milan to win the Serie A as it is to advance in the Champions League. Equally as important. And so I think you got an Inter side here that's going to be a little bit thinned out here in terms of where their focus is. Whereas Bodo is just, all blades, all systems go here for Champions League. So again, I do think there's goals. I'm staying away from a side in this one. My heart wants Bodo to win, right? I think that's what everyone wants. Everyone loves to see a Cinderella team, and we have seen Cinderella teams before in the Champions League. If you remember, several years ago, Ajax was that team. We had Ajax make it all the way to the semifinals, I believe, of the Champions League. So maybe some people are not fans of Ajax, but in any case, they did do it. They did do the job there, and they shocked a lot of teams on their way there. Is Bodo as good as Ajax? I'm not sure. But again, keeping this one simple: Olympiacos to score, Bodo Glimt to score, plus 109.
Just out of curiosity, why didn't you just go with the BTTS at minus 140? You can get that at MGM right now because we're all pretty sure that Inter's going to score one, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'd be shocked if they didn't. That's a playable value. I was looking for more plus money for the
Well,
show here.
like you could have even added
Um,
the BTTS instead of just the Bodo Glint to score one plus goal. Oh, just a thought. Because you could probably get that
yeah,
juice to plus 120, plus 130
yeah,
at that
maybe
point.
so. Yeah, maybe if I look back on it, I don't hate that, to be honest with you. That might be a better way to attack this. I was just looking for just one team to score a goal. That was kind of my focus,
Yeah.
but
Listen,
um,
the
you know.
underdog team to score one plus goal would have cashed you a very pretty penny if you just bet that across all the games so far.
Yeah, absolutely. These dogs have been barking for sure. They've been scoring goals when teams or people least expect it. So that's Champions League for you. That's why I always say Champions League is kind of a little bit of a Russian roulette because all these teams are quality teams, and so you don't really have any bottom feeders when you get to this level of Champions League.
That
So
is true. So now, in saying that, I am going to double down on Inter to maybe win this whole thing. Their defensive metrics are off the board. They're not dealing with the cold weather. They're not dealing with artificial turf. They're at home. I think that they're going to be focused. I know that they do have one eye on Serie A, but this is a match where I think that they came home embarrassed last week. and I think they come out with a fury hath no hell. Nope, didn't say that right. It doesn't matter. I think that they're going to clinch to qualify to the next round. I don't know exactly how many they score. I don't know how they do it necessarily. I don't know if Bodo Glint does score one. I do actually like them to score one. I don't think that they're kept. I think they're able to score in transition. We've seen that talent. Can't deny that. But I'm going to take the minus 120 here for Inter to qualify over at Caesars. I think that there's value there. And just keep in mind, I did take down a half unit to all my plays. I had been playing them at 1 unit. I am playing them at a half unit now, and putting a little bit more money to bet on these live, because if we don't see goals in the first half, I can better believe that the game is going to open up in the second half.
Oh, no doubt about it. You want to talk about a live bet game? Yeah, if this somehow gets 0-0 at half, yeah, there'll be some live bets for sure for me in the second half.
All right.
But yeah, no, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep,
No,
yeah. I think. Sorry, just real quick, just to touch on your pick real quick with Inter Milan advance. I think probably the majority of the money and probably the bets are on that as well. I think that's very much what the majority is in consensus with right now. I don't think really anyone really trusts Bodo on the road here. The only thing I'll say to that, is they did beat Atletico Madrid in the Champions League about a month ago. So
well, yeah, that's
fade
why I
Bodo
took
at your own
Atletico
peril.
Madrid to give up a goal today.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I guess if they can do that, they can concede to anyone,
There's
right?
two sides to that coin.
Yeah, go two sides of that coin. Well said. Well said. I stand with you on that one.
Look,
All right,
one last
let's
game here for the day. I
yeah.
honestly didn't know how to attack it. I tried to find the line on a player prop and I couldn't find it in time. So I'm interested to hear what you have for this Carabag Newcastle game.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep this one simple for me here. Of course, Newcastle's up 6-1 on the aggregate, so this one's done and dusted. Obviously, there's no way for a comeback in this one. But my angle here is I think we're going to see a heavily rotated Newcastle side here. Most likely a B team here. Maybe a lot of the younger guys are going to get some action in this one because they do have some interesting EPL matches coming up that they're going to most likely put more of their focus on rather than a match where they're up by 5 goals on aggregate, right? So I'm actually thinking that Karabag here, of course, they're going to be playing for a lot of pride here, right? This is one of their few opportunities to play in the Champions League. And I think you're going to get a side here that is going to want to go out on their shield, right? I don't think they're going to want to go out being embarrassed after getting beat down by Liverpool, getting beat down by Newcastle, or they don't want to get beat down again against a Newcastle team that you have to question their motivation in this one. And by that, I think there's going to be a very strong lack of motivation for Newcastle in this one. So the way I'm going to play this one, officially, I like Karabakh to score. And again, we're getting a very playable price on this, minus 130. Just get one goal from Karabag, and we'll win this play here. And I would advise here a small sprinkle on Karabag on the money line. You can get that at plus 1,700, which is an incredible price for me, considering you have a Newcastle side with nothing to play for, absolutely nothing to play for, and you have a Karabag side with everything to play for. You better believe that Karabag's going to come out here and play their absolute hardest and play to their fullest capabilities. Is it going to be enough to win the match? Maybe 1-0, 2-0? Maybe. Karabag can score goals. This isn't a team that's void offensively. They can absolutely compete on the offensive side here. So my angle for this is just that I think we're going to see a disinterested Newcastle side against a hungry Karabag side. And usually when you see that, the talent kind of doesn't make as much of a difference. And usually the hungrier team finds a way to at least score. So officially, I'm looking at Karabakh to score. But sprinkle something, quarter unit, tenth of a unit, whatever you feel comfortable with. Sprinkle a little bit on that Karabakh money line. That's a great price that I can't avoid.
All right, so we're on the same side here, actually, which makes me feel really good. I took Karabag's spread at plus 2.5 at minus 109.
That's a
So
fantastic play. I'm all over that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well
if
done. I'm all over that. Yes, sir.
if they lose by 2 goals, we still win. I was
Yeah,
like, are you
yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah, that's
Like, are you kidding
gaslighting.
me?
Yeah, no, the books messed that one up for sure. There's no way. There's no way. You're not getting the top players for Newcastle in this one. You're just not. There's a I would say a 1% chance, less than that. And so you're telling me we're getting a hungry Karabag team here? Just to not lose by more than two. Yeah, no, I love it. Absolutely
Hey,
love it.
hey, Prince and Mosh. How? Sorry to interrupt, guys, but
Hey, brother, how you doing? Welcome
I'm
in.
good. I'm good. Prince, just want to give you like just a little heads up. Eddie Howe, manager of Newcastle, met with the media yesterday. Everybody's asking, "Oh, are you guys going to rotate? Are you guys going to play a B squad?" And he was like, "He's not committed to that." So you might see some half the starting 11 that rolled out last week. I mean, this past weekend, they might play some, but he's not fully committed to rotating that squad, even though they're up 6-1 on the aggregate. I just wanted to throw a little caution in the wind there.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. That's great information. That definitely plays somewhat of a role. But my only rebuttal to that would be, okay, if the starters play, how interested are they going to be? Right? They still have to go out there and compete to their highest level. Now, on one level, you say, well, they're professionals. That's their job. They should do that. But they're also human. And when you got more important games coming up, I mean, are you really going to, if there's a 50-50, right? Are you going to go all out for that slide tackle? You have to question it. You just have to question it. It's human nature. If you're, you're playing against a team that has a lot more to play for than yourself. That's just my, my
Yeah,
opinion.
no, I no, and I get it. I just wanted to throw that out there because like, hey man, we've seen crazier stuff happen in these second leg
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. I mean, and hopefully, hopefully that is the case because that does throw a little bit of concern into the wind here. Of course, if he is going to play their starters, but to your point, you have to wonder how long are they going to play. I just think there's just a lot of variables on Newcastle's side. I guess that would be the best way I could put it. Where I think there's no variables on Karabak's side. They have one goal in mind, and that's to compete at the highest level. And I'm not sure if I can say the same for Newcastle, but that's just my opinion. We'll see.
I will point out that I was dead wrong. I had Carabag to win. I had the same bet basically this time around as I did last time, and I got my butt handed to me. It wasn't even close. I expected Carabag to come out and be able to compete, and we did not see that happening, even though the premier team was missing their primary midfielder.
Well, not only that, but Newcastle had been so poor on the road. I mean, I don't think one person had Newcastle winning by that margin against Karabag. So I don't know if that says more about Karabag or more about Newcastle, but I mean, Karabag is coming off a back-to-back, heavy losses in the Champions League. So you wonder if maybe the slippers kind of fallen for them. But I don't know. Like I said, I mean, by the way, thank you, Michael, for that information. That is very critical info. I didn't want to like talk over there or anything. It's super super important. So thank you very much
Yeah,
for
of
sharing. I
course.
was not aware of that. I didn't know he had that press conference. So thank you
Yeah, of
for
course.
that. Any kind of information you can give us, please don't hesitate to come on and let us know. That we try to get everything, but of course there's things we might miss. So really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
of
Thank you so
course.
much.
And
Yeah.
with the Bono Glint Inter match is so Inter has not is on a four so Inter in Serie A has hasn't hasn't lost in 14 straight matches. But they've lost the last three Premier they've lost the last three Champions League matches that Inter have played. And also Bono Glint is unbeaten in their last seven, but that doesn't they're you said that they're Nordic country, they're out of season right now, so you
Sure.
could take that for what it's worth, but it's like I just wanted to drop those little two tidbits. It's just
Yeah,
fascinating
absolutely.
that Inter's got a has gone 14 games without losing it domestically, but have lost the last three Champions League matches.
Yeah, that is an interesting dichotomy, I guess you would say there between the two. But I mean, that just goes to show Inter's quality. And look, I'm not sitting like I fully get everyone who's backing Inter to advance here. I like I said, it's just things Champions League crazy things happen. We always see it. We always see Cinderella teams kind of punch above their weight. And so for me, I just think. It was Inter should be. I'll put it this way: Inter absolutely should be favored to advance. There's no doubt about it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, great information. Thank you so much for that. Stern, did you want to carry us over to the Wednesday slate here?
Yeah, let's do that. We got another 12:45 fun game here for you. Atalanta versus Borussia Dortmund. This one we were in lockstep last time and we nailed it. You had, I think, Dortmund draw no bet in a parlay piece, and I had Dortmund to score 1+ goal as a parlay piece. They ended up scoring 2+ goals, well, 2 goals. And their defense was locked down. I'm just assuming that we're just going to see a lockdown type of game, right?
100%. Yep, I am on the under here, under 2.5 goals here, plus 110. I didn't see much from Atalanta in that first match. I know at home maybe they're a little bit better. I just think Dortmund's defense is that good right now. I think they're really finding their form defensively. And I know they have some injuries. There's a couple injuries on their back line that we do need to be aware of. But even having said that, I think they still have enough defensively here to stifle an Atalanta offense here. Of course, Atalanta will be chasing the match, but again, this is more of a play on Dortmund defensively. I just think they're one of the top defenses in terms of their form right now in all of Europe. So I love the under here. I don't think we see a lot of goals in this one. I think we're going to see a similar match to the first one. So I'm all over the under 2.5 here, plus 110.
Hell yeah. And I am under the first half under 1.5 goals as my second parlay piece to Leverkusen Olympiacos. I think that both of these games, Leverkusen Olympiacos and Atalanta Dortmund, we see under 2 goals in each of these games, and that's going to give you a plus 132 payout over at FanDuel.
Yep, excellent look there. And not to mention your under 2.5 is hit in 3 straight UCL matches for Dortmund. So again, just to speak to their just their defensive I would say efficiency right now.
Yeah, they're on fire. I really enjoy watching them. They're really an impressive team. And honestly, Atalanta has been such an impressive team historically. It is kind of sad to see no spark whatsoever in the last year
No,
or
no
so.
spark. They've lost that spark. They were one of the more fun teams to watch a few years ago, but they've since transitioned from that, and they're not anywhere near the same entertaining team. Yeah, Atalanta matches used to be must see TV, but not so much anymore. And yeah, I think even at home here, I think they're going to struggle against a pretty solid Dortmund defense here. So.
Yeah. And talking about failing against, oh, I can't even say a great defense. I'm just going to jump into the next game, Juventus versus Galatasaray. This was just an
This is the
embarrassing.
opposite.
Yeah, well,
By
it
the
was.
way, yeah, go ahead.
I believe Juventus jumped out to an early lead, and then I think they gave up 5 goals in a row.
You might be right on that. I think you might be right on that. I'd have to double
4 or
check,
5
but
goals in a row.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was tied at halftime, and then they just got blown out in the second half. And me,
yeah.
along with a lot of other people, thought Juventus was going to make a comeback at some point, and they just never had they couldn't get it to the third of the field. They couldn't get it to near the goal line. They couldn't get it in the box. They couldn't make the pass. They just were sloppy. They couldn't get it to be fair, they did have a red card, so they were down a man, but they had no offensive capabilities in that match, and it was shocking.
Well, in the words of Galatasaray fans, welcome to hell. That's what they call this place, and that's why it is, in my opinion, one of the top five best home field advantages in all of Europe. I think you saw that here, and their absolutely full throttle performance here against Juventus. Now, what that leads to in the second leg, I think we're going to see a lot of the same here because you got a Juve team chasing 3 goals at home against a Galatasaray side that doesn't know any other way to play than full throttle here. So I think we're in for a very, very entertaining match. Very similar to the first one. I love both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. I think we're going to get that at minus 125. Extremely playable line here. And I really can't see a scenario where this is like a low scoring game. I just, with Juve being desperate in their situation to chase goals, it's just going to create such a wide open match, which is exactly what Galatasaray wants to play. And so I think we see tons of goals here. And I love the price here. Both teams scored over 2.5.
You got a price shot, my friend, because I got that at -115 over on
Yep.
MGM. Both teams to score over
No,
2.5 goals is exactly the right play. And I'm going to go put double on it because when we're on the same play, well, it tends to tends to do well.
tends to work out. Yes, sir.
I'm jinxing myself now,
Yes.
but I know the last 3 times that we've had the same exact play, it has absolutely demolished. And you're right. Juventus is going to give up. They're at home. They're going to give up any pretext of defense, and they're going to go all
I'm
out.
telling you, I'm telling you guys, goals at any point in this game. But you want to, this is you would talk about live bets. It's absolutely it's a live bet smash candidate here. If you don't see any goals within, I'd say the first 20 minutes, you better believe there's going to be goals, and I would even play any first half total overs. I mean, I just think there's almost no limit to what you can do here in terms of goals, and more goals in this game. So definitely for me, going to be the most entertaining match of all the second leg knockout stage matches here. And the next up, let's go to the we'll go to the match between PSG, who's going to be hosting Monaco. Of course, PSG coming to this one up 3-2 on the aggregate. But when we're looking at this head-to-head here, specifically PSG at home, PSG have outscored Monaco by a aggregate score of 10-3. So it hasn't been close. And I kind of think we're going to see a similar kind of performance here from PSG. I don't really rate Monaco very much at all. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with PSG at home. I think PSG is going to get this one done and dusted early here. And I really love PSG to just kind of lay it on Monaco, I would say. So I'm actually going to take PSG on a -2 handicap here, and we're going to get that at +100. I think PSG absolutely wins this by margin.
All right, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. My first look here was PSG team total over 1.5, but that was laughable in terms of a line. I went BTTS over 2.5 here. I just saw. I mean, I hopefully what everyone kind of saw, which was PSG struggling and continuing to struggle on the defensive field. They can't hold the ball in the middle. They can't stop the ball. Monaco was getting into their third of the field with relatively ease, and they honestly controlled more of that game than I expected them to. They controlled it for about, I think, 54% of the game, which is not how PSG tends to play these things. So I like them to get at least 1 goal, and I do like PSG to get at least 2. Instead of taking a line, I just took the BTTS and over 2.5 at -115 over at MGM.
Okay, sure. Yeah, solid look for sure. PSG at any point could definitely give up goals. So I just think they're a little bit different at home than they are on the road. And my other angle for that would be that Monaco's 2 goals came from the USMNT superstar, Fuller and Balogun. Do I think he's going to be able to repeat that output again? No. And so I wonder where else do the goals come from here for Monaco? But it is PSG, so they at any point they could give up a goal. So definitely a solid look for sure. So you're on both teams to score at over 2.5, and I'm going to be on PSG -2. And then finally, let's go ahead and get to our final match of the Champions League knockout stage here, Leg 2, of course. We're looking at Real Madrid, who's going to be hosting Benfica. Madrid, of course, they're up 1-0 in the aggregate in this one. But they are coming off of a very embarrassing loss to Osasuna, a team that they had not lost to in 25 of their last 26 matches. So Osasuna fans were over the moon, of course, getting that victory against Madrid. Now you have to wonder, was Madrid, were they slightly distracted? Did they have one eye on this Champions League match? Maybe, but they're also right in the thick of it in terms of the La Liga race with them in Barcelona. So they really can't afford to be losing games like that. And they absolutely threw away a golden opportunity to really make a name for themselves in terms of competing for the top spot in La Liga. So is this a bounce back for them? I don't know. Real Madrid are a weird team for me. I'm not really sure where I'm at with Real Madrid right now. But for me, in terms of a great value, this is going to be a crazy value here, but I actually like Benfica to advance, and you're going to get it at +750. They're only down 1-0. I mean, it's a 1 goal lead right now. It's a 1 goal aggregate score line. But I think the fact that we're getting Benfica, a team like Benfica, at +750, All they got to do is score one goal. Maybe we go to shootout, and Benfica wins it there, or maybe they win it in extra time, whatever the case may be. But I just think that's a little bit overpriced, I would say, considering the scoreline, considering where these teams are at right now. Of course, you got the whole drama with Vinny Jr. and was Prestiani, right? So there's that layer to the match as well. Does that motivate Real Madrid? Does that motivate Benfica? Who knows, right?
It would
Jose,
motivate me if I was on Real Madrid.
you would think so, right? You would think so.
Especially now that they've been able to calm down and they're going into a much friendlier, I mean, their home environment. Like they
Yeah.
were
Oh,
in
night and
a,
day. Yeah.
yeah, they were in a
Mm.
hostile, the
Oh, yeah.
definition of hostile.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Oh, Benfica, oh, absolutely. That was one of the more hostile environments that we've seen in quite some time
That
over at
reminded me,
Benfica.
or I should say the Yankees Red Sox games, that reminded me of that type of environment. And that's coming from an American who always thought the American rivalries and were always the biggest stuff. And to be fair, Yankees Red Sox is probably the greatest rivalry in all of American history. But gosh, that was a brutal end of a game. The game stopped because of the
Yeah,
crowd. That was
yeah,
it. There was no
yep,
goals because nobody could play. Every single time that they were on a pitch where they were shooting a corner, right, hitting a corner, or if they were anywhere near the sidelines where the crowd could be effective, they were being disruptive, and that's not going to happen here. I think Real Madrid um, tries to bounce back, but I also think because of the embarrassing loss, they try to take it slow. My best bet here was first half under 1.5 goals. First half under 1.5 goals at -140, which is a little juicy. But again, we only saw one goal in the entire game last time. Benfica is going to I see a bully ball type of game where everyone's physically pushing each other around, leads to a lot of penalties and fouls, not necessarily conducive to a high swinging type of game. Yeah, I just like the first half of this one to just go slow, and at -140, I think it's pretty good value.
yeah, no doubt about it. Anytime you see a 1-0 aggregate, both teams are going to come out pretty cautious usually in that first half of the second leg. You tend to see that, so I think that's a really solid look. There was one more thing I was going to say. I can't remember, but in any case here, yeah, I think it's a grinded out kind of match. Oh, cards. If your book allows you to play cards, I would look at cards over. And this
Yes.
one, I think,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it's gonna be a real dirty physical. You're gonna see a lot of fouls, a lot of stop and start. I think the flow of the game is gonna be heavily
Yeah.
disrupted.
That's exactly what I was
He's
saying.
just
That's
playing
exactly
in the
why I
swamp.
think,
Yeah,
yeah, 100%. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. It's going to be a bully ball type of game. No one's going to be able to get any traction, just like in that second half of that game, right?
right. 100%. So yeah, absolutely. So if you like again, if you have a book, you can play over under on your on yellow cards in that one. Absolutely. I think we're gonna see multiple yellow cards in this one for sure. So yeah, any kind of under, I don't see this being a free flowing up and down end to end match like some of these other fixtures that we have here. I think this one's gonna be one of the more physically draining matches that we're gonna see.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually looking for my note here because I could not find a place to play cards, but I did like a card back in that Forest game. I'll find it and I'll let you know where it is. But there's a few props where I would like to be able to play cards because I think that we've seen a lot of aggression in the first leg between many of these games. And some of that's just being blown out and being upset about that, and some of that's been, maybe some taunting or maybe some racist or whatever it was. And I think that we do see cards, and I was scouring my books for them if they're not out yet. So if they do come out, I might have a few uh, specific people that I want to play cards on, just like we would play anytime goal scorer. Which, by the way, do you have any? No pressure. I don't know if you prepared that way, but do you have any goal scorers or leans?
No, I didn't. I mean, of course, from a lean perspective, you gotta go with Victor Osimhen for Galatasaray. He's been their talisman for quite some time. I know he didn't score in the last game, which was crazy. They scored 5 goals and he didn't get one of them. But I do think if Galatasaray is going to score, he's going to be heavily involved and probably get a goal here for Galatasaray. Other than that, I mean, if we're looking at Inter and Bodo Glimt. Of course, Inter should get on the board. So if you're looking at Inter here, maybe like a Marcus Thuram. I played him last week. Didn't really work out, but may end up going back to him again to score a goal. And then we're looking at Atletico here. That one I'm a little bit on the fence with. I don't have any strong convictions as to who I like to score. And that
You
one, maybe Sorloth.
you know who
Maybe
I'm looking
Sorloth
at?
gets on the board. Who are you looking at?
So it's not going to be able to be playable unless you get to play it live. It's just not. But Kylian Mbappe was visibly upset last game. He was, I think he was also extremely motivated. The fact that Vinicius Jr. got the only goal in that one. I think that you saw him. He was actively trying
He
to
was.
put that game on his shoulders and try for
Yeah.
it. And I think that someone at his level will be able to get it done with a full game of prep. And the price is minus 230, which is not anywhere remotely playable for a goal scorer prop. So that is definitely the one prop that I have circled, waiting to play live. If I get anywhere near even money, and just take it.
Yeah, you're never gonna hear me say fade Mbappe for goals. So anytime you want to back Mbappe
No,
to
I
score,
was
that's
worried that he was a little
always a
bit
solid
injured.
play.
Yeah, I was worried that he was a little bit injured, but I mean, he might have been a little bit slower. I expect him to be even more recovered now a week in.
Yeah, and one more here, like a little flyer here on a goal scorer prop. It's probably priced pretty good. I haven't checked yet. But for Olympiacos, I like Mehdi Taremi to get on the board here for Olympiacos. He's played very well for them. Of course, he played for Inter Milan last season. He came off the bench, so he didn't get quite as many minutes. So a lot of people may or may not know him. Of course, he's the star striker for the Iranian national team. But he's playing his first season here with Olympiacos, and he's done very well up front for them. So for me, because I like Olympiacos to score, I think you get a pretty good price on him to score. So I would maybe sprinkle something on him as well as a goal scorer.
Nice, yeah. Always taking the underdog on a team that the public doesn't necessarily think is going to score is definitely a good value pick for sure. I love taking the first touchdown scorer throughout the NFL season on the underdog. It was a great play. You would
Yeah.
get like their primary tight end or wide receiver, their number 2 touchdown scorer, and you would get them at over plus 1,000 or plus 1,500. And you're like, yeah, thank you very much. I'll take that.
Yeah, my rule is when in terms like when you talk about touchdown scores or goal scores, like I don't want to take anything heavily favored because let's be honest, it's a little bit of a crapshoot, right? I mean, it's you're you can look at the metrics and say, okay, well, maybe such and such player puts themselves in attacking positions and scoring positions, this many times per game, blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, the ball just bounces to certain people and you end up getting your goal. So for me, just personally, I always try to look for some of the dogs, unless we're talking about Mbappe, Harry Kane, Lewandowski, like some of our like week in and week out goal scorers. But otherwise, I always try to find some kind of sneaky value on those kind of props.
Yeah. All right. So let's recap. I want to recap our best bets, but I also want to give our best look for a live play. We mentioned a few of them. Yeah, I'll let you go first on that in that department, unless you want me to kind of go for it because I do have mine lined up as I did have the question at first.
Yeah, no, I mean, like we spoke to, I mean, just to reiterate, I would say the 2 games that I would be looking at over the 8 game slate here in terms of some live action here would absolutely be Inter and Bodo, right? I think if you don't see goals early in that one, you can expect to see goals for sure in that one, and then same thing for Juve and Galatasaray. If you're not seeing goals early in that one, I would absolutely look for any kind of maybe first half goals over, team totals over, things like that. Just depending on how the game flow looks, right? You can kind of see who looks to be attacking, who looks to be defending, how everyone's looking out there. But for me, when I'm just looking at the slate here, those are the two that I probably will have my eye on the most in terms of live bets.
How about this? Because I don't have anything else to add because I think those are the two games that I'm looking at too. What is the price if we just take a second half goal in both of those games? And you think
Um,
we can do that
let's
as like our or maybe 1.5 goals in each of those games? Because I
like our show, yeah, like an official show play or something, like do something like that.
yeah,
You
put a
did you
quarter
want like an
unit on
official
it.
podcast? But yeah, yeah. For so we're looking at over 1.5 in both games in the second half for
Yeah.
Inter Bodo and then Galatasaray Juve.
It's plus
That's what we're looking
150.
at.
Yeah, it's plus 151 over on MGM.
Love it.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's a super solid look because yeah, absolutely, you're gonna have teams chasing, right? And with the goal difference that we have here, I can't imagine, that anyone's going to be comfortable in the second half. So, I think we have a very, very good opportunity here to get 2+ goals, in both of those matches in particular. Yep, I love it. I'll
All
be
right.
playing it. Yep, I'll be on it.
All right, so I've been playing everything at a half a unit, your plays and my plays. Should I put it at a
Yep.
full half a unit or should I do it at a
Yeah.
quarter?
Let's do a quarter for that one.
All
Let's
right,
do a quarter for
sounds
that
good.
one. Yeah, and then the rest, I'm with you on that half unit plays for sure. At the most, for these Champions League games because, you have limited head to head between these sides, so you don't want to go too crazy on these. But
Well, yeah, you just don't want to wake up in the afternoon losing
yeah,
$500.
exactly right.
Yeah, it
You're
was
better well spend on you've been spending that money on your domestic leagues than Champions, in my opinion.
yeah. For
But
full
Champions is
disclosure,
fun.
I
Yeah.
did extremely well in our first round in the Champions League, and then the second match day crumbled. So like I think I'm even overall, but a little bit disappointed on that second match day where I gave away all the profit that I made so
Yeah.
carefully.
Well, I would say what makes it a little bit more, I would say, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's easier. I don't want to say easier, but I think you have a reference point after the first leg, right? So now you kind of have an idea of how teams are going to play. Whereas you're going in blind in the first leg, right? You're just going off of their current domestic form and how they've done in other Champions League matches. Whereas now you have a score line. You've seen them play each other the week before. You kind of know. You have an idea of what teams need to do, and so I think that creates a little bit more of maybe I would say beneficial way to approach these matches.
Yeah, for sure. As always, more information, the better. All right, let's recap our best bets here. Let me go first, and then you can close us off if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
All right, so we do have our show play, which is exciting. Second half over 1.5 goals in Inter Milan, Bodo Glimt, and Juventus Galatasaray. That's at plus 151 for a quarter unit over an MGM. I am on Atletico Madrid, Club Bruges, BTTS, and over 2.5 goals, minus 110. Inter to qualify, minus 120. Carabag on the spread, plus 2.5 at minus 109. Two-leg parlay, the first half under 1.5 goals in the Leverkusen Olympiacos game and Atalanta Dortmund game. That's at plus 132. Juventus Galatasaray game, BTTS and over 2.5, minus 115. PSG Monaco, BTTS and over 2.5 goals at minus 115. And then last but not least, Real Madrid, Benfica, first half under 1.5 goals, minus 140. Prince?
Yep, awesome looks. All right. For me here, I'm looking at the Atletico Madrid Club Bruges match. I like Atletico to score in both halves. You're gonna get that around minus 115. And then we got a two-leg parlay here. I like Olympiacos to score, parlayed with Bodo Glimt to score, and you're gonna get that at plus 109. I also like in the Carabag Newcastle match. I like Carabag to score here, minus 130. Sprinkle just a little bit on Carabag money line plus 1700. And then for the Wednesday matches here, I am on Atalanta Dortmund under 2.5 goals. You're going to get that at plus 110. I also like Juve Galatasaray, both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. You get that around minus 125. For the PSG Monaco match, I am on PSG on a -2 Asian handicap. You're going to get that at around plus 100 odds. And then finally here, the Real Madrid Benfica match. I'm going to take a shot on Benfica to advance here at plus 750. Before I get us out of here, Stern, any final thoughts on anything Champions League related here before we close it up?
Nope, just excited. 12:45 kickoff Eastern time, and yeah, we're gonna have a great day. And then I can't wait for day 2 on this, and then again Conference League and Europa League. So a lot of things going on, and I'm excited to get diving into it.
Yes, sir. Great time to be a soccer fan. Great time to be a soccer capper. Lots of exciting soccer matches coming up. So we thank you guys again for tuning in. This has been the OnlyBets Champions League Knockout Edition here, covering the Leg-2 matches. For my co-host SternBets, thanks to Michael for his contributions as always. And we appreciate all you guys tuning in. And until next time, we will talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.